United States starting in 2014. So this war, going into its 9th year, came from a direct collision between two nuclear superpowers. How stupid is this? I can't even use polite language because the people in the United States government that have provoked this, these neoconservatives who have been in power for more than 30 years, are putting the entire world in danger. And of course, the media is completely dominated by the US and UK, English language media, I should say. And it tells one story, the bravado US-led narrative. It doesn't tell any of the facts, gives none of the background. And by the way, the United States learned its tricks from Britain, which has certainly been the most violent country in history over the last 2.5 centuries, fighting in almost every place in the world. Now Britain can't manage anything. It can't even keep its clinics open anymore, but it still loves war as long as it's someone else's war. So Britain is the great propagandist of this war. And the English media tell the story. Putin invaded, no reason, no provocation, February 2022. It's all Russia's evil, without any background at all. And without the most basic point, which is that this was completely avoidable and preventable if the United States neoconservatives had not been pushing a dangerous agenda for 30 years and putting all of us in peril. It's disgusting. But what's disgusting, by the way, is that they are not even grown up enough to get on a phone call together to say, how do we avoid disaster? This, to me, is inexcusable. Even 5-year-olds talk with each other after they have the fight in the playground. But there's no talk. It's just hate language every day. And we hear the hate language coming from Ukraine's government. We hear the hate language coming from the UK especially. They're the masters of this kind of Russophobia. We hear the hate language in the United States, and we have no negotiations going on right now. And then we hear the Secretary General of NATO as if he's just quoting George Orwell, but he means it seriously. He say, weapons are peace. No, Mr. Stoltenberg, weapons are not peace. Negotiations are peace. Shame on you for saying that weapons are peace. We're grown-ups. Talk like grown-ups. We want to stay alive. We don't want a nuclear war. We don't trust you. Because if you want trust, then talk to the other side. Understand politics. Understand, like Clausewitz knew 2 centuries ago, war is a continuation of politics with other means. It means that politics in the normal sense was not pursued properly, so that politics now is by killing people and destroying Ukraine. Politics is to separate the two superpowers, to stop the neoconservative illusion of a unipolar US world. We don't want a hegemon, whether it's the US or any other country. We want a multipolar world. We don't want a world of military alliances that's going to get us into World War III the same way that it got us into World War I, and we've never gotten out of that. Stop these divisions of the world between our side and your side, and talk with each other. And especially keep the military powers away from each other. Because the President of the United States should be the first to say NATO will not enlarge to Ukraine. We don't want these two superpowers accidentally or deliberately entering into complete Armageddon. Think of the United States, how it would be if Russia made military bases in Mexico. We'd say, oh, sure, no problem. That's Mexico's right. Hardly. We'd invade the next day. But the neocons don't have principles. They just have the idea of power. So, well, Russia's not going to do it. We're going to do it. But this is what is bringing us 90 seconds to midnight, for God's sake. So what do we need to do? We need for negotiations to start immediately. I don't know where most of Europe's leaders are. They just have their head completely in the sand, or the US tells them what to do. There are a few that have spoken clearly and publicly, but then the US beats them down. But President Macron has said repeatedly, stop this provocation because we need to respect the security interests of Russia as well as Ukraine. Prime Minister Orban of Hungary has been very clear on this point. But most of the European leaders just follow the US line. And so we don't hear from Europe, and Brussels even more so. It's just a war party. There's no diplomacy anymore. But for the rest of the world, and there are people all over the world listening in, please have your governments call for negotiations immediately. And the negotiations are not between Ukraine and Russia. This is a war between the United States and Russia. It's being fought by Ukrainians who are trapped in the middle of this disaster, by leaders who somehow were told by the United States, oh, be with us, we'll keep you safe, just like the US kept the Vietnamese safe, just like the US kept the Afghanis safe. Come on. This is time for honesty and being grown up. Ukraine is not being helped at all by this. Ukraine's being destroyed by this proxy war. But have your governments call for immediate negotiations between the United States and Russia to stop a war that is endangering the entire planet. And it's obvious the first term of an agreement is Russia goes home and the United States stops NATO enlargement. This is the basis of peace, that Ukraine is neutral, and both sides of these nuclear superpowers back off. Neither fills the vacuum of